So, I see you couldn't decide on what lyrical deck to play. Well, you came to the right place, because today we're talking about Alistair's Kairi, the generic combo engine that works with almost every lyrical deck except Lyrical Roll. Fuck Lyrical Roll. But before we continue on, I'm going to ask you a question. Is Kairi a meta deck? I've put together a few requirements that I'll look through throughout the deck profile. One point in this deck's favor is an out-of-context graph that indisputably proves the deck's meta position. This build is taking advantage of the Ghost variant of Kairi. In my opinion, it's the better payoff for Kairi. The goal is to combo off for 5+ multi-attacks on turn 4 to just outright kill your opponent. Here's my deck list. We run 4 Selfie Practice Annalise and 4 Capriccio of Circulating Star Ingrid. These 2 units are the enablers of Aerith's skill. Simply put, they attack, put additional power somewhere, then remove themselves from board. Annalise can help you refill your soul and put power on another unit, but she requires a booster, making her sometimes awkward to use. On the other side, we have Ingrid, who gives herself power, but she basically removes herself from the game after that attack. You have to max out on these or Aerith's skill won't work. Here's the star of the deck, Brilliance and Elegance Aerith. She lets you call another unit from hand to get an extra attack in. However, she has to be boosted and have an open circle, making your Peace Reliant to benefit. For our boosters, we run 4 Joined Grass Ernesta and 4 Fleeting Mane and Hannelore. Ernesta is a restand that lets you actually have multiple units hit over a defensive trigger. She can trigger off almost every unit in the deck, so she's an easy include. Our secondary booster Hannelore is pretty fun as well. In this deck, you typically don't call front row rearguards until you try for a kill turn. This means getting power off her skill is basically guaranteed. She's above other rearguards in my opinion, just because the skill has the potential to gain additional 2k more than some of the other ones if a fully extended combo isn't possible. I'm going to talk about True-Hearted Ruby and the Rollisto Ride line at the same time. True-Hearted Ruby makes sense as it's a strong draw engine in this Peace Reliant combo deck, but it also fills soul as well. Why run the Rollisto Ride line as well? Well, compared to the base Kairi Ride line, this one lets you draw 3 and discard 1 instead of just putting a miscellaneous grade 1 on the field and bouncing 1 to hand. +1 soul and +2 filter 1 is better than a net even and a situationally good bounce. If you've noticed anything odd about the trigger lineup, that's because we're running 7 draw. This is because it's both an additional method to see pieces, as well as Kairi's skill preventing you from using front triggers and being unable to put crit triggers anywhere other than Van. This is because she bounces on attack and then places after battle. This is way after triggers are checked. This leaves triggers to be checked in the middle when you have no rearguards. This does work out for the deck, as in give you 2 additional cards to potentially call from hand, but it does mean we're going to be running mostly draw triggers. Now, let's break down this deck's combo. The full shebang requires 1 Ingrid or Annalise, 1 Aerith, 1 Ernesta, and 1 booster and 1 miscellaneous front row unit. Play Aerith in front of Hannelore or your booster. Play Annalise or Ingrid in front of your Ernesta. Swing with Annalise, then put her in the soul but the power on the booster. Swing with Aerith using her skill calling Ingrid or Annalise. Swing with Annalise but don't boost unless you want to end your combo after Vanguard swing. Then swing with your Vanguard, bouncing your front row to hand, then replace Aerith, this time with Aerith in front of your Ernesta. Also place Ingrid on the other column. Then swing with your Ingrid and put her in the soul. Then swing with your Aerith and use her skill, calling whatever from hand. Then swing for a total of 7 attacks. You can do a halfway version of this combo on turn 4 for 4 attacks. Now on the mulligans. Mulligan for Persona Rides. After that, mulligan for Ingrid, Aerith, and Ernesta. Then mulligan for Annalise and Hannelore. However, your priority number 1 is Persona Rides in the deck. It's really how you kill them, or else your multi-attacks stop at 4 and hit like a wet noodle. You can put back draw triggers in True-Hearted Rubies, keep crits and perfect guards for matchups where you need to be defensive. This deck struggles with matchups that have the resources to survive this deck's main combo. This deck plays well in the Bruce, as you can steamroll them with 4 attacks on turn 3 and your 5+ attacks on turn 4, as well as the fact they can't Leonard you because you bounce the units back to hand. In fact, being able to bounce rearguards is why this deck steamrolls decks like Draconic Overlord. You can force people not to damage deny you. A lot of this deck's good matchups do depend on who goes first. Lyrical and Bastion are like this. Going first, you can win most games, but going second, they can make you drop combo pieces. This deck is strong or neutral at all the relevant matchups, so it's got that going for it. Before we move on, I want to say that this matchup beams Barrow Magnus, so if your locals is turning to mine, where half the players are playing Barrow Magnus, this is your solution. On to rating the deck. 7 attacks that are mostly boosted on turn 4, as well as 4 attacks on turn 3. Most players can't live that. The only thing going against this deck is the inability to fully benefit from triggers, which in my opinion doesn't matter when you can just keep attacking. I have to give this deck a 5 out of 5 on power. There are no control elements unless you consider bouncing your own rearguards to be a control element. I don't, so control's a 0. This deck is very decent on consistency. You need the hard C or Persona Ride, but even without that, you're always going to be able to have a solid 4 attacks. With all of the draws in this deck and True-Hearted Ruby, consistency is a solid 3 out of 5. I'll half check that on the checklist. The deck seems weird on versatility. It's got neat plays, it could make them thanks to Kairi and other rearguards, but it is kind of locked into using its comboing off as a finisher. The deck can tech whatever you want. Kairi is cool like that. 3 out of 5 on versatility. The deck can have some interesting value. The ride line gets you ahead early. Once the deck full combos off, it can be hard to do so again unless you have some godlike luck. I'm going to give this deck a very generous 3 out of 5 on value. Let's check on the verdict on whether or not this deck is meta. And look at that, the answer is no, but it is a really good rogue deck. I think it's below Bruce and the Roll, but this deck is more dependent on going first and has some consistency problems. This deck has a funny view in people's heads. I think since Kairi released as a structure deck, and it doesn't have a lot of its own identity, people don't really think of this deck as good. Correction, people don't really think of this deck at all. Players don't know what to do or how to play around this deck, so you oftentimes have a bigger advantage than you probably should. I had a friend make top 8 at a large event just by confusing his opponents into oblivion. In Overdress, I don't think people are ready to comprehend a multi-attack deck that's not Bruce, Lyrical, or Bastion. I strongly recommend this deck to everyone. More people should be playing Kairi. If this combo variant isn't your style, there's also a Blackwing build that actually functions pretty well, so check that out if this isn't your style. Next time I'm either going to be doing a premium Great Nature deck profile, Ghost, or I'm just going to be moving on the set 3 deck profiles. I haven't decided yet, but stay tuned and please subscribe. Feedback in the comments is also appreciated. I try to be as thorough as possible with these deck lists, so if there's anything you want me to cover in these that I'm missing, please leave a comment telling me. Thanks for watching and see you next time.